You were sitting near the window of your room, tracing your finger on the glass of your mother's photo frame. The sky outside was fading, streaks of orange giving way to violet dusk. Her smile stared back at you from behind the glass, soft and eternal. Your mother was gone. It had been a year, and yet her absence still filled every inch of this house. Her perfume lingered in the wardrobe, her laughter haunted the piano keys, and sometimes you still caught yourself setting an extra plate at dinner. But lately, another feeling had begun to wrap around your chest, quiet, poisonous fear. You had heard whispers from the housekeeper, from your aunt, even from your father's assistant who spoke a little too loudly on the phone. Your father was seeing someone. You didn't believe it at first, not until you saw the way he smiled at his phone the other night, the faintest warmth in his eyes that you hadn't seen since your mother's death. He was happy and it scared you because that happiness didn't belong to her. You drew your knees to your chest, pressing your forehead against the cold glass. What if he forgets her? You whispered to the empty room. What if he forgets me too? A soft knock came at your door. You straightened immediately, wiping your cheeks. Come in. The door creaked open, and to your irritation, it wasn't your father. It was him, John Jungkook. He leaned casually against the doorframe, dark hair falling over his eyes, a faint smirk curving his lips. Your housekeeper told me your father is out. You frowned. So you came here to annoy me instead? He shrugged, stepping in with that careless confidence you despised. Maybe you look too serious all the time. Thought I would fix that. You turn away. I don't need your help. Clearly, he muttered under his breath, strolling across your room as if it belonged to him. His eyes landed on your mother's photo. She was beautiful. He said quietly. You froze. It wasn't mockery this time. His tone was sincere, almost reverent. She was. You whispered, eyes softening. She still is. He looked at you for a moment, then smiled, the teasing kind again, as if emotion made him uncomfortable. You stared at that picture like it will start talking back. Your lips parted in disbelief. You are unbelievable. He laughed under his breath, eyes glinting with mischief. You are too easy to tease. Get out. I will, he said, stepping closer, voice dropping just slightly. But one day you'll have to stop looking back, you know. The way he said it, soft but certain, struck something deep. You glanced at him to hide the sudden sting in your chest. You don't know anything about me. He smiled faintly. Maybe not, but I can tell when someone is scared to lose what they have. And just like that, he turned and walked out, leaving you standing by the window. Heart racing, anger and confusion tangled together. You hated that he could read you like that. You hated how easily his words stayed behind, echoing in your mind long after he was gone. Outside, the night deepened, and as the first stars appeared, you made yourself a quiet promise. Tomorrow you would talk to your father. You needed to know the truth, even if it broke you. You had been quiet all morning, too quiet, even the birds outside seemed cautious, as if they could sense the heaviness in the air. You sat at the breakfast table across from your father, your untouched plate a silent protest. He was in a cheerful mood today, humming under his breath, occasionally glancing at his phone with a smile. You hadn't seen him like that in months, and somehow it hurt. You took a deep breath. Dad? He looked up, still smiling. Yes, sweetheart. Are you are you seeing someone? For a moment the air stilled, then his expression softened, and that smile, the one that used to be reserved for your mother, appeared again. I was planning to tell you, her name is Hana. She is a wonderful woman, kind, patient, thoughtful. You felt your throat tighten. So it's true. He nodded slowly. Yes, I wanted to wait until I was sure. She makes me happy, Vian. Happy. The word rang bitter in your ears. You forced a small, shaky smile. That's nice. But the moment he reached for your hand, you pulled away. I have to go, you said quietly and left the table before he could say another word. You stormed upstairs, holding your breath, desperate not to cry. You hated crying. It made you feel weak, childish. But when you reached the corridor, someone's voice made you stop. Well, Jungkook drawled lazily from where he leaned against the railing, arms crossed. That didn't sound like a happy breakfast. You glared at him. Do you ever not eavesdrop? He smirked. You were loud enough to hear from the other side of the room. Rolling your eyes, you tried to walk past him, but he fell into step beside you like a shadow. So, he said, tilting his head, your father is finally moving on. Must be tough for daddy's little girl. You spun around, eyes blazing. Don't call me that. He grinned unfazed. Why not? It fits. You know nothing about me, Jungkook. Oh, I know enough. He said with that infuriating calm. You hate losing control. You like pretending you are fine when you are clearly not. And you can't stand that life is changing without asking your permission. You stared at him speechless. You love hearing yourself talk, don't you? He chuckled, stepping closer, his voice dropping. Only when it makes you glare at me like that. Like what? Like you want to throw something at me but don't have the courage to. You pushed his chest lightly, muttering, You are impossible. He caught your wrist, not hard, just enough to stop you, and looked down at you with a hint of something serious beneath the teasing. And you are fragile, even when you pretend not to be. Your heart stumbled, you yanked your hand free. Stop it. Stop what? He asked, smiling again as if nothing had happened. I'm just talking. You turned away and walked off, but you could feel his gaze lingering, half amused, half something you didn't want to understand. That evening, the house was busier than usual. Fresh flowers lined the entryway, candles flickered, and the kitchen buzzed with excitement. You didn't have to ask. You knew who was coming. You stood on the stairs when the doorbell rang. Your father hurried to open it, and there she was, Hana. She was elegant, with soft brown eyes and a smile that could almost be called gentle. She held a bouquet of white lilies, your mother's favorite. Vian, your father said proudly, This is Hana. You froze for a second. It felt like the floor tilted beneath your feet. Hana stepped forward. Her voice was warm. I have wanted to meet you for so long. Your father talks about you all the time. You forced a polite smile. I'm sure he does. From the hallway, you heard a low whistle, Jungkook. He was leaning against the wall, arms crossed, watching the scene unfold with that maddening smirk. Wow, he murmured just loud enough for you to hear. She even brought your mom's favorite flowers. That's bold. You shot him a glare. He leaned closer, his breath brushing your ear. What, you don't like competition? Competition? You hissed. He grinned. You are adorable when you are angry. You turned away sharply, trying to ignore the heat rising in your cheeks, not from flattery but frustration. The evening dragged on, filled with laughter and polite conversation that you couldn't bear to join. Your father looked happy, genuinely happy, and it made your heart ache in a way you didn't know how to explain. From across the room, Jungkook caught your eye once. He wasn't smiling this time, just watching quietly, like he could see right through your calm facade. Later that night, when everyone had gone, you sat in your room staring at the lilies Hana had left for you. They were beautiful. They smelled like your mother's perfume, and somehow that made it worse. You looked out the window, the garden lights flickered softly, and in the distance, you saw Jungkook standing near the fountain, phone in hand, the glow outlining his sharp profile. For reasons you couldn't explain, your chest tightened. You hated him, you hated that he understood you without trying. He teased you in that cruel, knowing way. It made you feel alive again. He was your father's best friend's son, and though he doesn't need a reason to visit your house, he was like a family member since childhood. You guys never got together well because He loved teasing you and you gets offended very easily, but deep down his words comforted you. The next morning felt different, too bright, too quiet. The whole mansion was dressed in white flowers and laughter, the kind that didn't belong to you anymore. Your father had announced at breakfast, his voice warm and steady, he was getting engaged. Hana stood beside him, shyly holding his hand while everyone clapped. You had smiled, you even hugged her because that's what good daughters do. But inside, everything felt wrong. You excused yourself before anyone noticed the tear threatening to spill. In your room, you sat on the edge of the bed, twisting your fingers together. The door cracked open softly. "Sweetheart," said Mrs. Choi, the housekeeper who had been with your family for years, the one who had practically raised you after your mother's passing. She carried a tray of tea, setting it gently beside you. You didn't eat anything. She murmured. You didn't answer. She sat next to you with a sigh. "I know this is hard, Ryan, but your father, he's not that old. He has been lonely for a long time." Your throat tightened. He promised he would never love anyone else. Maybe he's not replacing her. Maybe he's just trying to survive. You shook your head, tears falling freely now. "I don't want to see him with her. I don't want anyone taking my mother's place." Mrs. Joy brushed a strand of hair from your face. "Your mother wouldn't want you to shut your heart this way." You stood up abruptly, unable to hear anymore. "Please stop," you whispered, and before she could speak again, you ran. The air outside was cool and sharp as you burst into the garden. The scent of lilies, Hana's lilies, stung your nose. You stumbled to the fountain, clutching the edge as sobs shook through you. The night sky blurred with your tears. You pressed a hand to your chest, as if you could stop your heart from hurting so much. "Why are you crying again?" The voice came from behind you, familiar, low, edged with something softer than usual. You turned with wet eyes. "Go away, Jungkook." He stood a few steps away, hands in his pockets, his expression unreadable. "You really like making dramatic exist, don't you? Please, not today." He sighed and walked closer, his tone gentler now. "I saw you at breakfast. You looked like you couldn't breathe." "Because I couldn't," you snapped, the words trembling. "Do you know what it feels like to watch your father hold another woman's hand at the same table where your mother used to sit?" He didn't answer right away. His eyes softened. "Maybe he's just human," he said quietly. You looked up sharply. "Don't defend him." "I'm not. I'm trying to make you understand." You laughed bitterly. "Understand what? That he's allowed to forget her? That he can just move on while I'm still here pretending everything is fine?" Jungkook stepped closer, his gaze unwavering. "Your father isn't forgetting her. He's trying to live with the pain she left behind." You shook your head. "You don't know him. I know grief, and I know how it can drown a person if they don't find something or someone to hold on to." You blinked at him, trembling. He took another step forward. "Your father loved your mother more than anything, but he's still alive, Ian. He still breathes, still feels, and maybe, just maybe, he deserves warmth again." His words stuck, something deep, something you didn't want to admit was true. "I hate this," you whispered, your voice breaking. "I hate feeling like she's being replaced." Jungkook's expression softened. "No one can replace her. Not for him, not for you. Love doesn't work like that." You looked down, while tears streaming down your eyes. "Then why does it hurt so much?" He hesitated only for a second before moving closer, his hand reaching for yours. "Because you were scared, scared of losing the only version of your world you have ever known." And when your knees finally gave way, he caught you, arms wrapping around you firmly, quietly as though he had been waiting for you to fall apart. You buried your face in his chest, sobbing harder than you had in months. He said nothing at first, just held you, the steady rhythm of his heartbeat, grounding you through the storm. Then his voice came low, rough against your hair. "Your father loved your mother deeply, but he's not made of stone, Ryan. He still needs to live. So do you." You clutched his shirt tighter. It's not fair. I know, but neither is life. The fountain's soft trickle filled the silence. The night wind brushed past carrying the scent of lilies. And for the first time, Jungkook wasn't teasing. He was just there, solid, warm, and unmoving. You stayed like that, in his arms, surrounded by the ghost of everything you had lost, until the tears finally stopped. When you pulled back slightly, his eyes met yours, steady, searching, quietly unreadable. I didn't know you could be kind, you said in a shaky whisper. He smiled faintly, don't get used to it. But the softness in his eyes betrayed the words. The late autumn sun cast its soft golden hue over the city, painting the skies with shades of pink and tangerine. The air was crisp, tender, like the start of something new. You stood by the window of your room, the same one where you used to trace your mother's photo frame, and cry silently, but today your heart was quieter, not healed but learning to breathe again. Your father had kept his promise. He didn't try to erase your mother's memories. He honored them. Her picture still hung on the living room wall. Her favorite lily still bloomed in the garden. And yet, for the first time, you didn't feel threatened by that change. You were learning that love didn't have to vanish. Just because someone else arrived, it could coexist just differently. The housekeeper's gentle words echoed again. He's still a man with feelings, dear. And you were still his little girl. A knock pulled you from your thoughts. You turned, and there he was, John Jungkook, leaning against the doorframe, casual yet breathtaking in his quiet way, the smirk that always got under your skin tugged at his lips. You are daydreaming again. Do I need to be jealous of whoever is in your thoughts? You rolled your eyes, pretending to look annoyed. Don't start teasing me again. Oh, but that's my favorite part, he said, walking closer, hands in his pockets. You look too pretty when you get flustered. You turn away, muttering, you are impossible. And yet, he whispered, now behind you, his breath brushing your ear. You never asked me to stop. Your heart skipped just like it always did around him, ever since that day in the garden, when you had run away crying and he had found you, sat beside you, and said words that still burned softly in your heart. Your father deserves happiness too, but so do you. That night had changed something. You had seen him differently, not just as your father's young friend, not just the man who teased you mercilessly, but as someone who understood you when the world didn't. Come with me, Jungkook said suddenly, stepping back. I want to show you something. Where? You'll see. The drive was quiet, filled with that strange tension that had grown between you lately. Something fragile, unnamed. He parked near the lake, the same one you had once sat beside when your heart was breaking. The evening breeze rippled across. You looked around. Why here? Because this is where I saw you differently for the first time. Jungkook sat stepping closer. His voice had lost its playful edge. That day when you cried for your mother and your father, I realized something. You turned to him while your pulse quickened. What? He took a slow breath. That you weren't just the girl I teased to annoy. You were someone I wanted to protect, to comfort, to make smile again. Your lips parted, but no words came. He went on, eyes locked with yours, sincere, unflinching. I tried to ignore it, Ryan. Believe me, I did. I told myself it was wrong, that it would ruin everything, but every time I saw you, every laugh, every tear, I fell deeper. He stepped closer, close enough that you could feel his heartbeat against the air between you. I love you. I don't know when it started. I just know it's the truest thing I've ever felt. You stood frozen, your breath hitched, eyes glistening. Jungkook. He smiled faintly, sadness flickering behind it. You don't have to say anything. I just needed you to know. But you shook your head and spoke in a trembling voice. You think you were the only one fighting it? His eyes widened. I tried to hate you because you teased me, because you confused me, because you made me feel things I shouldn't have felt when I was supposed to be mourning. But every time I looked at you, my heart wouldn't listen. That's the reason I never stopped you. A beat passed, the air thick with everything unsaid, and then you took a step forward. He didn't move, just watched, breath held as your hand lifted to his chest, resting over his heart. You looked up at him, eyes wet but shining. You once said, "My father deserves happiness. Maybe I do too." He smiled. "Yes, you deserve all the happiness, and I'll make sure to make you happy till my last breath." You smiled. Something in him broke in the best way. His arms wrapped around you, pulling you against him, holding you as if the world could disappear and he wouldn't care. The wind carried your mother's favorite scent, lilies from the garden miles away. It felt like her blessing, silent and soft. And for the first time in a long, long while, you smiled.